So you want to grow longer hair, but you can't stop the breakage. Your hair seems to be growing out of your scalp just fine. You have just enough strands, but somehow your hair just keeps breaking. Let's dive in a little bit deeper and see if possibly there are some things that you could be doing that can cause your hair to break, or things that you could incorporate to prevent breakage. Stay tuned. Okay, so the number one thing to do when you are suffering from excessive hair breakage is to stop everything that you're doing to your hair immediately and kind of just look at your overall routine and see where you could be going wrong or where you could be slacking at in different areas. So, number one, moisture, 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 moisture. I am always going to push this, is a very, very big thing. Detangling is a very big thing, and in fact those two go hand in hand. Notice how when you have a very highly slip giving conditioner in your hair with lots of humidity and water in the shower, how easily detangling is versus when your hair is in its natural state per se and you've just taken it out of braids or whatever style you were wearing, and how like really hard it is to get through that hair. Notice how much breakage happens when you try to detangle very dry, natural curly or kinky hair. So moisture is a big thing for us, and slippage in moisture is a very, very big thing for us. I cannot stress it enough. If you've ever had relaxed hair even, and you've noticed that like your middle of your hair tends to break more faster than the rest of your hair, and you realize that perhaps you weren't treating that area with like either leave-in conditioners or deep conditioners, because thick hair is very nice to have, but it is also very hard to get through. So sometimes you may notice that while you're putting product on everywhere else, the main like crown of your hair can go very neglected. And you'll notice when that happens to a lot of girls, no matter what ethnicity, that area will be thinner and broken off, and rightfully so, because the hair is not getting moisture or any type of like treatment. So moisture is a big deal. It's a big deal. 9 times out of 10, when your hair is breaking at an excessive rate, moisture is more than likely a culprit. And it doesn't matter if it's from chemicals that are drying out your hair, heat styling that's from drying out your hair, shampooing from drying out your hair, lack of treating all areas with moisturizing products such as conditioners, hair masks, leave-in conditioners, oils. It all kind of circles back to moisture. And so we have to make sure that when we're treating our hair with hair masks, leave-ins, oils, that we're one, getting it all over our hair, but we're also dragging it to our ends. Very important for curly hair, natural hair. We have to make sure moisture is a number one factor. I told you guys when I was bleached and I grew out my hair, moisture was a big factor. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started bleaching my natural hair, and this is before the second time I cut it, when I first started bleaching it, I was definitely not putting as much moisture on it as I should have been. I should have been moisturizing way more often. And one of the things I found out about my natural hair when it did start to grow longer is I didn't realize how much more moisture my hair needed. When my hair is in its natural state, it gets washed at least 3 times a week. I do not let my hair get overly dry. And I used to do that. I used to think that like the less I washed my hair, the better. Now, I'm not saying that you have to wash your hair every day. You have to wash it 3 times a week. But what I am saying is that you need to understand how many days your hair can go without being washed and conditioned until it's pushed to its brink, because dry hair breaks, okay? And it doesn't matter why it's dry, but it breaks. And so if you do bleach your hair, if you do put any chemical process on it, it's going to need more moisture. Also too, obviously heat tools, you got to be careful with them. You have to make sure that you're not putting them on your hair too often, because it will break off your hair. Because why? It is heat. And what does heat do, especially at high temperatures? It takes moisture from the hair. I mean, it takes, it is what it is. So that is why Using a very good deep conditioner before heat styling, as well as using heat protectant, is important. But even still, despite those things, heat dries out things. It dehydrates things, right? When it's hot outside, aren't we getting very, very dehydrated? We are. So it's very important that we understand the role that, really dehydrated dry hair plays in breakage, guys. So another big one for me is avoiding tight hairstyles. I know we all like our tight buns, our, tight ponytails, our slick backs and stuff like that. And every once in a while, honestly, like those are okay. It's when it kind of goes above and overboard. So when my hair is in its natural state, generally, you guys know I like to just put it in braids. I don't really style it too much. I usually just let my roots be very loose. And what I found is when I allow my roots to be loose and like kind of not under a lot of like tension and things like that, I feel like my hair grows better. I mean, it could just be a bias, it could just be, I don't know, but I find that my hair is just able to be in its natural element and grow however it needs to grow or be however it needs and wants to be. So I would avoid tight hairstyles. It definitely does do a number on your edges. When you're going to go get braids, when you're going to go get extensions, just make sure that you're not getting your hair pulled so uncomfortably tight that you can't even function. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had friends who went and got their hair done, went and got their hair braided, and it was just too tight to function. I remember one time my cousin got her hair braided so tightly that like she eventually ended up having like to cut them out literally the next day, and of course those things are very expensive. So I could just imagine, on top of being highly uncomfortable, now you're out of a few $100s. So I would just say, like, when you go to get your hair styled by these stylists, just explain to them like, hey, please don't pull my hair so freaking tight that, obviously it's going to break my hair. Because number one, it can break your hair, but also number two, it can cause something called traction alopecia, right? And we've pretty much seen it over the internet over the last few years, where we'll have these girls and their edges will be non-existent. And speaking of my edges, so sometimes I do like to take like an edge control product and like slick them down, and I'll do my baby hairs, but I don't do that quite as often. I do love the look, but it's not very like, how do I say it? It's not very healthy for your hair, because if you guys have ever used hair wax and then like slicked them, like the hair that's coming out, the hair that's breaking, especially from the wax, because it can be quite harsh on hair. So it's not something I do all the time. It is something I do maybe like for a special look, a special occasion, when I really, really want to like have that, you know, special detail. But like honestly, I usually just keep my hair pulled forward and you guys can't even really see my edges. And honestly, it's like, can we like normalize natural edges? Like, we have thick hair, or like, even if you're a natural with like not so thick hair, like usually our hair does give the illusion of being very thick, okay? And so it just comes with the territory. So I don't really trip about those. Like I said, if I'm doing something and I want to look extra tip top or something like that, then I might just do the edges. But like honestly, guys, usually I keep them very natural, and when my hair is in its natural state, they stay very natural again. So yeah, you guys, be very careful with styling. I was just watching somebody the other day and she said something very interesting. She has natural hair, and she basically said one of the biggest things that people aren't saying is that when you want to grow out your natural hair, it grows the best in its natural state. Okay, so my hair doesn't grow at its best like this. It literally usually grows the best when I just leave it in its natural state. And she was saying that, and I can totally relate to that. I totally agree with that, because that's been my experience. So also, when we wear our hair in its natural state, it's us giving it a chance to kind of recharge. It's to regenerate, right? It's the same thing as when we wear no makeup on our skin and we kind of just give our skin a rest. It's the same exact thing. So we have to understand that sometimes we may have to sacrifice aesthetics over hair health, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, hair health should come before aesthetics. Yes, I mean, like, I love wearing my hair straight. I love wearing it in different styles and curled and stuff like that. But if I start to notice that my hair is getting a little bit dry or weird, I'm like, okay, we need to give it a break, and it just is that, and we're just gonna have to find a new aesthetic, something that is healthy for my hair, that it can grow very nicely in, but that I'm not damaging it. And it's about to be that time for me because it's getting a little bit cooler now on the East Coast. We have very cold winters, and so winter can really zap your skin and your hair of so much moisture. So it's gonna be probably about that time for me. You guys are gonna start seeing more natural state hairstyles, which is good for me. I don't care. The only thing is, obviously, sometimes it takes my hair longer to dry. And so, yeah, but I'm going to try my best not to go outside with wet hair because you definitely don't want to do that and turn your hair into icicles. And that's another story. But hair health over aesthetic. And I get it. I get it because we love our hairstyles, right? Everybody has their ways of doing their hair that we may know, hey, it's not as healthy for my hair, but I love it, right? And and so we have to find like kind of a middle ground with that, because if not, then you won't be able to get to your hair goal. If that is your goal, if longer hair is your goal, then sometimes we have to choose hair health over aesthetics. So, you know. So yeah, don't shoot the messenger, but it is the truth. When I was growing my hair out long, I didn't have it straightened this often. It was more so in its natural state, like 99% of the time. Very 99% of the time. It's probably the only time when it was straight is probably like if it was a special occasion. I went to the Dominicans or somebody that I really trusted to like blow it out, and yeah, there. Next is we want to avoid overwashing our hair. And I know we just talked about moisture, but understand that when I say overwashing, I'm more so talking about like over shampooing it, and especially with harsh shampoos. So, not every time, like when I wear my hair more than often in its natural state, not every time I get in the shower am I shampooing it. I won't shampoo it unless I feel like the products in it has built up so much. And for me, the products are usually, because I leave conditioner in my hair as a leave-in, because to me I find it more moisturizing and then just more economically affordable. If I start to feel like the silicones and all that are like building up on my hair and my hair just feels yucky, and you'll know, if you pay attention, you'll know the way you just go about like detangling it and everything, you'll know when your hair has too much products in it. It's like, okay, it's time for a good shampoo. But you don't want to like shampoo every time. You don't have to. You probably have to only shampoo like maybe once a week, twice a week, depending on how oily your scalp gets and what time of year it is for you. That is why you have to pay attention to your hair. That is why you can take what someone says as like a reference, but like don't take what someone tells you what they do with their hair as like, oh, like I have to definitely do this to my hair. Do what works for you, but you have to pay attention to your hair because that's the only way that you're going to understand what works for you. So I would just say, like, pay attention to your hair when you're washing it. And it's so crazy, guys, like, because before, all these like specific little details I'm telling you guys, before I would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, my hair feels different when it's like, I wouldn't have known those things because I really wasn't paying attention before. And it's crazy, like, now that like I have my whole like hair routine, right? And this hair routine is not even something I even think about. It's not even, it just is how I take care of my hair. It's just how I do my hair. Just like before, where I wasn't thinking about any of these things and I didn't do the things that I do now, I didn't think about it. And I didn't know the difference between my hair being moisturized, not moisturized. I didn't know that. And so I was going based off of what other people told me or what I heard instead of what I was witnessing with my own hair. So, one of the biggest game changers of hair growth or healthy hair, period, is actually observing your own hair and just off of observing your own hair, just noticing, oh, Well, my hair starts to break more when I do this, and my hair starts to get like this when I do this. Okay, like I need to make changes. And once I make those changes, my hair is doing a lot better. So we have to be able to like recognize those cues that our hair is giving us. It's the same way as our body, right? Our body gives us certain cues when it's not feeling well, when it's not feeling its best. Your hair does the same thing. And some of those cues could be not styling the way you want, not holding a curl the way you want, not being able to tangle as easily as you do usually do, more hair fall, more breakage, like whatever. But your hair will give you cues. It will give you cues that it's doing well, and it will give you cues that it's doing bad. So it's important to stop and really like pay attention to those things. That's all I'm saying. The next things I'm going to recommend, which kind of ties into moisture also too, is hair masks. I believe in a good hair mask. I Okay, so here's the thing. When my hair is like in its it when I'm styling my hair, you guys will notice that I don't really use a regular basic conditioner. And for me, the regular basic conditioner is usually the conditioner that comes with the shampoo. I do have it, but if I'm gonna style my hair, like if I'm gonna style it like this, like heat style it or something like that, you won't 9 times out of 10 see me using that. And that is because if I'm gonna just go straight into styling my hair, I would prefer to put a hair mask in, let it seep in. I have kept hair masks in overnight. It's not something I do often, but if I felt like my hair needed that boost and I really liked that hair mask, I will double cleanse my scalp and hair and then put a great hair mask in, put it in some braids, keep it in overnight, and wash it out the next day and continue to heat style. Or I will just wash my hair and then put the mask in right then and there, let it sit in the shower, and then rinse it and then so hair masks are really going to help your hair to keep its moisture levels together, as well as really treat those areas that are suffering from hair damage and like just dryness overall that may be causing breakage. However, not all hair masks are created equally. Some to me in the past have not been as like moisturizing as others. So that's why it's really important that like when you pick a hair mask, you pick something that is going to help you with your hair goals. So if you feel like you need more protein, make sure your hair mask is more geared at like keratin and protein complex. If you need more moisture, make sure you pick something that is more so moisturizing. And if you need both, then look for ones that give you protein but also moisture at the same time. Somebody asked me about moisture and protein balance on this channel a little bit ago, and I was like, oh girl, I have not talked about protein and moisture balance in so long. Like that takes me back to like relaxed hair days. Also too guys, one of the things that helps prevent breakage is just letting your hair have a rest and giving it a break and not putting undue physical stress on it. When we talk about detangling, we want to make sure that we're using the right tool, right? So the right tool, depending on who you are, could be a comb, a brush, and when I say a brush, like a paddle brush, it just really depends on your hair and what you feel comfortable detangling with and what gets you the best technique. For me, I love big, thick, big base paddle brushes like Conair, that are like kind of, I want to say, what are those hexagon shapes? They're like really, really big, and that is what I use in the shower to detangle versus like on the outside when I'm just detangling my, straightened hair. I use more so of like smaller based brushes because I don't need them to be as heavy duty as shower. But yeah, and this one I just got from Forever 21. I thought it was really cute and I really like these things in it. But yeah, so I always say my shower brushes and the brushes I keep on my vanity are two different speeds. My shower brushes are more heavy duty and they are bigger, so I can detangle bigger sections at one time. You guys know I only detangle in 2 sections. I can't do the 1 million sections. Back in like the beginning of my natural days, I tried that and it was torture. Standing in the shower for how many minutes to an hour just like trying to go through all these different sections. No way. I do 2 sections. I have a very big paddle brush and we get through it and we call it a day. I'm not doing all that. And honestly, simplicity in a hair routine is probably the best thing you can do for your hair. Hair loves simplicity. Simplicity, consistency, go hand in hand with hair growth. So, yeah, guys, just make sure you're detangling with the right tool. Really pay attention to, if your hair is breaking, if your hair seems to be stalling in length, make sure you are detangling in a healthy way. I have a lot of videos on this channel showing me detangling when I'm washing my hair, so I hope that helps you to kind of like get an idea of the technique I use. If you have any questions or concerns, or you have any recommendations, leave them down below for us to read. And as always, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, month, evening, wherever you are. I'll see you guys later. Bye.